Next item on the agenda, presentation by Community Enrichment Commission and their bylaws. So just come on up and introduce yourself.
And go back to your systems button again, everybody.
All right, well, good evening, City Council members, City staff, and Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year.
You are being given a packet with some reference materials supporting this presentation. So as we go through the presentation, we encourage you to follow along on the screen, but these are more thorough materials that you're getting. They're a copy of the ordinance, copy of the bylaws, and then a couple of other supporting documents as well. So it's kind of going to be a two-part presentation here tonight. So as kind of has been our custom, I guess, in the past couple of years, we give a report out to City Council on our progress, since you guys have a vested interest in our commission. I guess before I get started, I want to introduce my two other people on the commission. They'll just kind of give a brief introduction for, I guess, their name and then their role in the commission.
I'm Vicki Briggs. I've been on the commission. I'm coming into my 12th year. I'm a co-chair with Brandon.
I'm Jeremy Bakken. I've been on the commission since 2012, and I'm currently the secretary of the organization.
All right, so let's get rolling. This is basically a two-part presentation. So the first part of it, the first like 8 or 9 pages, I think it is what we're going to call a report out on our growth. But what it is it was stemmed from our sponsorship document. So you'll see a lot of things in here. So just kind of know that it has a spin of approaching sponsors and pursuing them, but it's always up to date, and it's definitely a good document that shows our growth year over year, plus from the beginning as well. Beginning is, I guess, 2010, once our first sponsor document was implemented. So, quick facts. So, CEC, we'll refer to that acronym as the Community Enrichment Commission from here on out, just because that name is pretty lengthy. We have 3 productions now, so all of you know and have been to Concerts in the Park, I believe. That's our longest production, been going for many years now. Wi-Fi, one of our newest one, is short for Wyoming Fireworks. We've been doing that for 3 years now, and that coincides with one of our Concerts in the Park events. And then Music and More Fest. This is our new one. You may not have heard of it. Our 3rd annual one is coming up soon. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. So just a couple of quick facts on there. I'm not going to read all this to you, but a couple of key facts on here. I guess Wi-Fi, one of our biggest events of the year, last year I think it drew a little bit over 9,000 attendees. We rounded up to 10,000 for the 2015 event. Sponsor network of 71 local businesses. This is a big fact for us here. We have more sponsors than events that are sometimes 8 or 10 times our size, and that in reference is Metro Cruise, which sees about 10 times the number of people we do, yet they have about half that many sponsors. So a lot of work's been put into building up that sponsorship network, and we think that's definitely a factor for where we are today. And please feel free to stop me. We'll kind of take a break in the middle of the presentation, answer any questions, and then tell you about our transition to the second part. So Concerts in the Park is our first production, longest running production. 7,500 attendees were counted at our 2015 events. That's a pretty hard count. We count at each of our events. That number alone makes us one of the top free summer concert series in West Michigan. Some of the other bigger ones like Collin Park in Holland. Lowell has a pretty big music festival. We actually beat both of those in terms of attendance, so we're pretty proud about that. Consists of 11 family-friendly, free, high-quality concerts, all at Lamar Park, of course. We pride ourselves on the diverse genres that we offer. We offer multiple forms of entertainment. This is kind of came out of our growth as well, so those of you that have been to a concert in the past few years have noticed that we are much more than just a concert in the park now. We have all kinds of games for kids, a community art project, the big W over here, as you see, that we presented last month. We do gift card giveaways, theme nights, photo opportunities, all kinds of stuff is at the Concerts in the Park now. Local food and refreshments is another big thing we offer, so we involve local restaurants to sell food at the concerts as well. We'll keep moving on here. Wi-Fi, our second production. This is the biggest and of course only fireworks celebration in Wyoming, and was our biggest event of the year last year. This one, again, we kind of beef up a little bit more yet and bring in more inflatables, kids games, giveaways. And we've had some pretty good success and seen some definite growth with Wi-Fi since its introduction in 2013. Next slide is Music and More Fest. Jeremy, along with being our marketing manager, leads our Music and More Fest subcommittee. So we'll have him just talk a little bit about this event.
Thanks, Brendan. So the Music and More Fest is a relatively new event still. This will be the third year for the event, and last year you guys actually generously supported the event, and so thank you for that. But we're excited about the event this year. It takes place at the end of our regular schedule of performances, and so it's kind of like the big season finale for us. We have multiple bands every year. This year we're pretty excited with, we've already got some bands signed up, and I can't tell you who they are because it's still a secret, but we're going to have some pretty good bands this year. We're excited about that. We've got a lot of different activities that we do in the park, and so we do like Frisbee golf games. We did a home run derby last year. We do skating on the tennis courts, kind of a variety of different things to bring families and kids out and get them to enjoy the event. All the activities are free, which is something that I think is pretty unique and really nice for our community too, to be able to offer that kind of programming really with no cost for them. And so we also do a movie in the park at the end of the night, and this year we're really excited about a new partnership with the Grand Rapids Film Festival. They're going to help us promote the event, be part of the event, help us offset some of the costs of the event. So we're excited about that. So a lot of new things happening with the event, and we're really looking forward to it this year. So, any questions about the? Thanks.
Okay, we'll keep moving on. Thank you, Jeremy. Media and news coverage. This is something that has grown with our growth. We kind of we get more exposure as we book bigger bands. We get more attendance, things like that. So on your screen there are just kind of some snippets of either news articles, media from the web that we've pulled. You can see a couple statements there. We have had live and recorded interviews. We've had WZZM, MLive, the Rapidian have all been out to do live or recorded broadcasts of our events. And then what to expect in 2016. We'll have our Vice Chair Vicki talk about this a second.
Thank you, Brandon. Well, we already have 5 national touring acts are booked. Now, bands are seeking us out because they know that we have such high quality and we have such an excellent reputation. So we'll be booking 14 different groups or artists this year. Think about that, 14.
Wow.
We also provide a large, not only has Brandon alluded to the different activities, they're hoping to have bounce houses at each one and then continue to have the giveaways, anything from a small trinket to gift cards. But we're also having inexpensive food, and our food choices are growing, and we're also using just local vendors to do this. And we're the only community concert that has interpreters for the deaf when they're able to do it. Well, that's something, too, that makes us unique. We also are drawing from quite a few different communities. I know of people coming from Granville, Jenison, Grand Rapids, Comstock Park, Kentwood, and Walker. And some of the people that are coming from these other communities are actually volunteering to help us. Now, what does that tell you? We're not even their city, and yet they want to be a part of us. So it's part of a very exciting and growing group, and I'm very proud to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki.
All right, thank you, Vicki. And just to point out, I mean, we definitely don't like to take these numbers lightly. The first 2 points we are totally excited about. So as you see, we kind of got together as a group and decided as a board that we wanted to refocus some more monies to our bands. So what are we at the core? We're a music production event. So we've kind of found that, you know, the biggest bang for our buck we get is the acts we book. So as you can see, that's kind of where our bigger number is coming from this year, and we're so excited to be allocating that much to our headlining bands. Attendance too, the second point there of 20,000. This is just amazing, the growth that I've seen since I've been here in 2010. This started at about 1,200, I believe was the number in 2010. So we've seen some tremendous growth, and we're so excited, and that is definitely one of the most motivating points for us. We'll roll through these two pretty quickly. There's a lot of words on here, a lot of work that's went into this, but this is a working document of our sponsorship packages. So the first page you see there's 5 different packages that we offer to sponsors. This is often a starting point for discussion. It just kind of whets the sponsor's appetite for what we can offer, what kind of packages, how can we partner companies with events and with bands in particular. So I'll give you just a minute to look over this, but lots of benefits that we offer: programs, flyers, social media postings, banners, verbal recognition from stage. All kinds of things have been offered to sponsors to help them get on board with us. Next page is page 2 of sponsorship options. These are basically the lower and mid levels. Again, a lot of verbiage here, but kind of the same thing, just in lower levels, less benefits for these lower and mid levels. Add in the program, flyers, Facebook posting, and things like that. Any questions on this one before we move on? All right. So that concludes part 1 of our presentation. Again, that's just kind of where we have been and where we're going a little bit. So we want to move into now our proposed amendments, which we believe will help support the future growth of the commission. Let's go into that. So we're dividing this into 3 sections. So you see the banner at the top, 1 of 3, membership. We'll start with membership, and again, please stop us if you have any questions or if we're missing something or anything here. So we'll just read the highlighted point here from the ordinance, section 2-423. Membership and appointment reads like this: members of the commission shall consist of not less than 5 and not more than 9 members. Our proposed, if you move down, says not less than 5 and not more than 11 members. So the reason is, due to demands from our growth, we'd like to increase the maximum from 9 to 11. So that's the only thing that we're asking to change, our maximum from 9 to 11 members. And the reasoning here is that the CEC currently has 9 members. We are a full board. And we have a couple more people that are eager to join us as board members. So I definitely put in the work and are deserving of that status. And having eager Wyoming residents that want to make a difference and play a key part of Wyoming's growth, being an engaged, appointed member of a commission, we think enables that. It gets more people involved. So membership, we see as 3 things. You guys may see it as more or other benefits, but first of all, it's an official record of their service. It's something that people can put on their resumes, their career achievements. It gives them just a higher status of serving. 2, it gives them more ownership in the group. This is kind of a key point here. This works both ways. It's good for the commission as well. If you're tied to something, if you're an appointed member, you kind of have a little bit more incentive to do work. And then 3rd, it gives it a little bit more of a structured involvement. So members serve 3-year terms on our commission. They have requirements for membership, and they're able to vote on key commission topics at board meetings. So a lot of benefits to being a member, and for that reason, we're asking that the maximum number be bumped up from 9 to 11. We'll move on to point number 2, to addresses contracts and compensation. So there's 2 pages here, and the first page will cover our bylaws. You'll see that there's 2 different sections in the bylaws that we'll ask to amend, and we'll read through them right now. Article 8, Section 6 in the bylaws reads like this: members of the commission shall receive no compensation other than the reimbursement of reasonable expenses as approved by the commission. And our proposed will be: members of the commission shall receive no compensation as a result of their appointed membership to the Community Enrichment Commission. So kind of mincing words there a little bit. We just think that the proposed in this part of the bylaws clarifies that because you're appointed to the commission, because you're a board member, you don't get a stipend. You don't get paid for that role. We'll continue on. Bylaws Article 3, Section 4 reads: the commission may enter into contracts within the constraints of its approved budget and available funding to further the purposes of the organization. And our proposed amendment will be to read as this: to further the purposes of the organization, the commission may enter into contracts with any business or individual, not excluding members of the commission, and within the constraints of its approved budget and funding. And then one more point, as we mentioned, and I'll talk about the reasoning for all this and right after this. The ordinance also has a section that applies to contracts and compensations, and it is section 2-427. Point number 4 reads as this: appointed members of the commission may not be compensated for services to the commission. And then our proposed, which is kind of a summation of the two bylaw proposals that you just read, reads as this. Appointed members of the commission shall not receive a stipend for serving on the commission. The commission, by way of majority vote, may enter into contracts with any individual the commission deems necessary, not excluding members of the commission. So reasoning here is that we agree that a payment stipend for serving on the commission should not be allowed. We just discussed that. The second, though, is that this allows the CEC to contract with anyone. We, as a group, believe that members can offer valuable services to further the purpose of the commission. And this was originally related to commissions and corporate sponsorships, but we, the WCEC board, got together, and this really became a discussion about the group as a whole and us moving forward. So two main points here for us. One is that we never want to exclude anyone from being on the commission. We found that the people most interested in the CEC and its events are the people that we work with the most closely, the food vendors, sound, lighting companies, entertainment. We contract with a lot of individuals now because of all the events that we have going on. And we just don't feel that it's right to exclude the people closest to us if they have an interest in serving on the board. To turn them down, to turn them away because we contract with them seems a little bit backwards. It seems like we'd want to have them on the board. And second point is we'd like to use the talents and passions of those already on the board to further our progress. So example here is myself. I've been securing the corporate sponsorships for the past 5 years. But kind of a big point here is that we no longer talk to just a handful of companies and deal with just a couple $1,000s. We talk to over 70 companies and secure over 40 monetary sponsorships. Our goal this year will be 50 companies, and it takes a lot of work to do that. The amount of work required to do that is well beyond any volunteer level that I'd ever expect from anyone on the commission, and well beyond my role as a chair. And we'll refer to the WCEC direction here. This is not something that we have to do, but again, look what we've done in the past 5 years. And that's been a key catalyst to doing what we've done is from the sponsorship program. We draw some of Michigan's best bands now, as you heard Vicki say. We book bands that are nationally touring and have Nashville record contracts. We bring thousands and thousands of people to our events, and again, generating those local business sponsorships is the majority of our income and has really made all this happen. So concern here that we wanted to address, and we know that you may be thinking about it or it may come up, is the misuse of power. So if an improper situation was presented that seemed unfair, illegal, or to be a conflict of interest related to commission members being paid, we're confident that the board would vote it down. We have we have a board of 9 people. They're all Wyoming residents, and they want what's best for Wyoming. Another layer of protection here is that we have the involvement of liaisons from the city. So Mr. Kent Vanderwood is a liaison on our board, as well as Eric Tompkins is the Parks and Rec staff liaison on our board. And between the two of them, they're at almost every single one of our meetings. They're in touch with us through phone conversations, email chains, and things like that. So they know what's going on with the CEC pretty closely there. Next slide, kind of related to this, the Grand Rapids Film Festival, we just want to give you an example, is just one organization that contracts with anyone, including its own members or officers. So they are a 501c nonprofit, just like we are, under the Alliance, Greater Wyoming Community Resource Alliance, that is. And then here's a snippet from their bylaws, which reads as this: when authorized by the board, a person shall be reasonably compensated for services rendered to the corporation as an officer, director, employee, agent, or independent contractor, except as prohibited by these bylaws. I wanted Jeremy to just take a second to expand on this a little bit. Jeremy has a unique perspective, and he has a pretty good background too. He'll never say it to you, but he has some great event experience. He was involved with Celebration on the Grand. He was on their board for a while and even served as the director, the chair of the board for that large organization in its heyday, and just wanted him to say a couple words on this as well.
Thank you, Brandon. So, yeah, I had just kind of a couple thoughts on this issue that I wanted to mention. As Brandon mentioned, I have been involved with several other community events over the course of my career. I've been involved in public relations, and I do a lot of special event planning and work with several different cities and other groups. I was involved with Celebration on the Grand for 8 years, the last for 3 years as their chairman. And I do know there's certain skills. I believe that there's some roles within any kind of community organization that do require a specific set of skills and also a level of passion for the work. And I think that restricting those people from being compensated for that work just because they're a member of our board really puts limits on us that just shouldn't be there. I think that as a group, we've reached a point in our evolution where we should be able to make those kinds of decisions about who we want to contract with. And when we find individuals that are passionate about the work they're doing and they're really good at it, like Brandon is. Brandon is being a little modest, but really a lot of the growth has been due to the efforts that he's put forward in fundraising. Very few of the things that we've done over the past few years would have been possible without his efforts. And so I think when you have somebody like that, and this isn't just about Brandon, this is about future growth of the organization. When we find people that are passionate about what they're doing and they want to be involved, to put barriers in place to prevent that from happening just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So I guess that's just kind of what I want to say.
All right, thank you. We'll move on here to our last point, and then we can kind of open this up for discussion about anything. Fiscal year. So our bylaws in Article 4, Section 1 reads as this: the fiscal year of the Community Enrichment Commission shall begin on July 1 each year and end on June 30 of the following calendar year. The proposed is this: the fiscal year of the Community Enrichment Commission shall begin on September 1 and end on August 31 of the following calendar year. So we are open to adjusting this proposal. Let me just to kind of explain this a second here, but this comes down to the events of the CEC running through mid-August. So currently, the notification letters of terms expiring are mailed out in June, which is the midpoint of our summer events. So backing up the term year, 2 months, is really what we're looking for here. We understand the word fiscal year can kind of have it has its own connotation, but how it's affecting us is that the fiscal year is tied to the term year. And what we're really looking to adjust is that term year being backed up 2 months. And it's going to do 3 things for us. It's going to allow our members to complete the event year, finish any year-end responsibilities, and help the board to look for a transition to a replacement. So again, yeah, just to clarify, we understand the fiscal year of Wyoming citywide is July 1 through June 30. We understand. We're not asking to change that. And we are asking for the term dates, though, to be adjusted. So this past summer, we actually had a key member, an officer, not renew his membership, making his resignation effective on June 30th, which was backdated because he didn't take the action until July. So he did end up staying with us for until the CEC could transition, but there were some problems that came up because of the fact that our terms end on June 30th. One is that it's a really inopportune time of year for us. We are right in the middle of concert season. Our members and officers are at their busiest at that time. Another thing is that outgoing members are not really required to see it through, we'll call it. That includes the events that they agree to volunteer at, whether they sign up for them. End of year reporting is a big one, especially if it's related to our treasurer. And it's not really tied to completing your task. Then the last point, I guess, is that the other members are left to scramble and carry more responsibility. So that's not really fair to them. Our members already do a lot, and because of this, if somebody ends on June 30th unexpectedly, our other dedicated members are left to kind of pick up their tasks. So overview request. This is just kind of a restatement of what we've talked about here in the second half of our presentations. But again, due to demands from our growth, we'd like to increase the board member maximum from 9 to 11. Point number 2, allowing the CEC to contract with anyone. Again, we don't feel members should be excluded from contracting, and also vendors should not be excluded from becoming a member. Members, as you've heard, can offer valuable services and often have vested interest and knowledge to advance the purposes of the commission. And again, what we just mentioned, backing up the term year, we'll call it 2 months, making operations run smoother for us and preventing minor crises. Last slide here is the just a supporting document for our from our November 17, 2015 meeting of the Community Enrichment Commission. I won't read this, but this is just a cut and paste from that document stating that we talked about all three items, which we've talked about tonight, and that they were motioned and voted on and passed unanimously within the WCEC board. So I guess in closing, we definitely are not the event series we were a year ago, and we definitely are not what we were 5 years ago. We are way ahead of that. We feel we're moving in the right direction. We see a lot of positive things happening in Wyoming and outside of Wyoming because of this event series. But like any organization, we need to evolve to continue to grow. Our board of dedicated, involved Wyoming residents has voted unanimously, as you saw, that these amendments are needed, and these are changes that will help us do a better job and continue to help us build the fabric of our community, and in a big way. And that's all we have. So thank you very much for your time, and we'll take any questions you have or comments.
Could you flip back a slide on the?
I can't, no.
Okay.
I got it. There you go. This one?
Brandon can do it.
Okay. Yeah. So I was looking at both of you. I didn't know. You were looking down when I first said it. I said I was actually looking there, and Sam thought I was asking him. Yeah, I'm probably the most involved in this as the liaison with the commission. I've talked to Brandon quite a bit about this. I'd like to see more discussion on this after tonight. I see definite merit with request number one. I personally don't see a problem with that, but maybe legal counsel does, or maybe it's, I don't know what that does to our city ordinances. But the third one, I'm not sure we can appointed members of commissions serve terms that are not in line with the city's fiscal year?
They can. My recommendation would be we'd move it. What's that?
Yeah.
What?
We have a little inside now.
You need a mic on, I can't hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
Unless a statute sets the term dates for like the Downtown Development Authority, the Board of Review, the charter says that terms begin on July 1st. So we have a couple stray boards that were established under state law with different term dates, but the charter requires July 1st to June 30,
So this is not changeable?
without a vote of the people.
Oh, my gosh, okay. Well, forget that.
Yeah.
I see the challenge they have, because I felt that pain, but I was thinking if we could adjust the terms of members without the fiscal, because the fiscal is a whole nother question, because the CEC is a commission of the city, and therefore dollars are managed by the city. In this case, it's through the fiduciary of the alliance, but even if it wasn't, they're still city dollars, so the fiscal year probably wouldn't be able to change. So when you're saying fiscal or term, I think you really mean term.
Yeah.
You don't care when the money's counted as much as when officers can serve, correct?
Yes, and we didn't see anything in the ordinance or the bylaws that stated the term dates, start and end dates, so that's, again, we pulled the fiscal year terminology, but it does relate to term year more, so.
So we may be stuck with that.
I guess my recommendation on this would be to refer it to the committee of the whole so we can have further discussion on this and take it up at the next committee of the whole meeting and what we can go on with and what we can't and that type of thing. Get some legal ramifications of where we're going with this, how it affects other committees and that type of thing.
I would be open to that as long as we can get any questions that council members would have answered in documents or whatever, whether it means getting legal counsel's opinion, Jack's, whatever, prior to that committee of the whole, so we don't come look at Brandon's presentation and scratch our head like, well, can we do this, can we do that? So I think if we can dig into this a little bit and have each of us as council members get any questions back to Curtis, I guess, that he can then get answered, so when we do discuss it, we have all the information.
Yep, makes sense. Jack?
I will address number two. I'm interested in that a little bit in far as I've been updated, not near as much as Kent and stuff, but I'm a little concerned about the reasoning why. I mean, you go to 11 members. How can all 11 members suddenly have a vested interest. So somebody's term ends, or ones that I appoint, and now you put on a vendor that is your pizza vendor, and he wants to be on the board. And now we kind of got an exclusive pizza vendor. And then the next one expires and we get one of our other. Suddenly, you're getting all these vendors that really have a vested interest. When we, around here, if there's something that is going to financially affect me in any way that we are voting on in the city, I have to abstain from voting on that situation. So I think that kind of gets you in kind of a rough spot, I would think, if someone's on your committee like that would really have to, they say who's going to have for a pizza vendor this year. You'd get people, you're going to have people all the time having to say they really can't vote, because you can't really vote to have a specific vendor. Another thing I'm looking at is the cost involved with hiring somebody. Obviously, now you have graciously spent way more time probably than, like you said, anyone would possibly expect someone to do. Have you currently been paying anyone outside to do what you would now be contracting a member of your board to do?
We have not. It's been done all through volunteer, myself basically, for the commission.
Okay.
Well, no, the exception would be sound. Not just what Brandon's been doing. You mean any services? Sound would be one example.
Sound is something.
Just Brandon.
But I meant
Sponsorship?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's where the main
He's done it.
emphasis is this. Okay. So how would you would obviously have to maybe even put more time in on it. Would it behoove you to, if this can be a profitable item for you, to not be on this committee, because you would be such a major player in the game? Obviously, it's all the funding. So obviously, at every board meeting, you would be there. You would be giving reports on all the fundraising all the time, but wouldn't be in a position to be on the board. Then they can hire. I mean, you're under, like they said, you hire the sound now. You could hire you separately, I believe. If you weren't on the board, you could currently be hired to do this. Is that correct?
That's my understanding of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the board could hire you to do this, but now you want to be able to vote to hire yourself. And I don't know where we are in the city for that, if we have anybody that can kind of have a vote to set their own pay, or to, that we can't really hire ourselves in any other situation. So I just want to, I don't know how the ramifications would go for that. The Historical Society, maybe they have somebody that does majority of the work, and now suddenly they want to hire their chairperson to get paid a certain amount of money in order to be the chairman of the Historical Society, because they are now spending so much time at that. And we have a lot of boards and commissions that I appoint, and I'm wondering what the ramifications are. Not that I don't think that's, maybe it is a possibility, and as long as it's in our own, but you can see the beginning of a snowball process. Like, why am I not paid? I'm doing the major part of our fundraising for our organization is this, and I'm making all the calls. I'll tell you right now, the rest of the commission is getting assigned projects and they're doing a nice job, but I'm making all these calls. Why am I not getting paid? And then I have to go, and then we approve this, then I always say, well, CEC is doing it, so why can't we do it? And why can't we do it? So that's always our concern, always with everything at the city, is its ramifications. Are we setting ourselves up for something? A good example for that was the superintendent of Wyoming Public Schools came in here a couple years ago when they wanted to they were having a millage come in. And they wanted us to vote as a council to send a message of support of the millage. Well, we looked at that as a very slippery slope, because that was a good idea, and it would have been good. And I think most of the council members here would have voted for it. But next year they come with us and they want to turf the field. And we want you as a city council now to come in and support our turfing of the field. Well, why wouldn't you agreed with us before, so why wouldn't you, why would you now say, so now you're recommending that we don't put turf on the field? So it gets kind of we always have to set precedent, watch where we're setting precedent, because once we do it, it's hard to go back. Impossible to go back.
Right.
So, but I'm certainly open for some good discussion on that. I'm sure you have thought of those different ways, of angles where you could be paid but not be a part of the board, and I certainly would like to have your input on that as a possibility, because you would still be a very integral part of it, because obviously if you're raising money, that's what you need to run the whole operation.
Right.
And you certainly could be, an ex officio member or whatever, non-voting member or something like that could be established, or something. But it would just scare me to think that we would have a chairman of any one of the many commissions that I appoint people to be getting paid for, especially setting something like, I wouldn't even know how you do it if it was a percentage or something of what if it was a $1,000 contract and you got 20%, or I don't know how it would ever work out or something like that. But, obviously your commission is going to set your wage, and that's not happening anywhere in the city.
Yeah.
So that's what scares me about it a little bit. But,
Yeah.
If you've thought through all those things and you have reasons why, I trust all these people here too. And, but the whole deal with transparency, and we've had that in the past years ago with a commission that we kind of lost sight of. That's 15 years ago when I started, and suddenly we came to the realization what was going on, and we had to step in and fire the whole group. And
Fun.
it was really ugly, because we looked bad, like, why were you allowing this to go on? And we couldn't, nothing could be followed, and, we had a whole bunch of rigmarole with it, and people in here just furious and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's important that we're transparent on all issues like that, and that we're not setting precedent for, yours is one commission, but we have a lot of them.
Right, yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. Poe, for the comments. I guess two things then I heard there. The first one being related to, I'll just sum it up by saying, like, being overrun with vendors. If we open it up to 11 and we have vendors that can come in that have certain interests, whether it be pizza, things like that. We already have things in place that would probably prevent that. We run on subcommittees now, which we instituted probably a couple years ago now, a year and a half. So we don't really do votes where we're not voting for pizza, we're not voting for sound. We have individual groups that handle those items. So for instance, we have a concession sales subcommittee, and all we would have to do is make sure the pizza employee is not on the concession sales subcommittee, and then that group still has the power to decide, non-biased, what decision they go in there.
Okay.
And did you want to say something in regards to the second comment related to boards with active leaders and payments?
I think just...
Stand by the mic so that everybody can hear you. Thanks.
No, certainly, I understand your concerns, absolutely, and that is, as a group, we've actually had a lot of those conversations, just internally among ourselves, because we certainly don't want to set a wrong precedent either. I mean, that's not what we want to do as a group. One thing I will say is that one of the solutions that you've offered is to have Brandon basically resign from the group, but still be involved through his fundraising efforts. And that's actually one of the situations that we're actually trying to avoid, is to force people off of our group. Brandon doesn't only bring fundraising skills, he brings a lot of other things to this group that I think we would lose if he was forced to resign and only focus on fundraising. And so that's actually one of the situations that we're trying to avoid with this idea. I think that there is a precedent, and Brandon shared one from the film festival. I know that there's other groups, 501c3s, where they do specifically contract with members for specific things. And so I think that's the thing to keep in mind here, is that we're not going to pay Brandon to be a board member. We're only going to pay him for money that he brings in. So he's not going to get paid unless he helps us grow the commission by bringing in funding. And so the contract that we would draw up, I mean, this is all preliminary, obviously, but you're exactly right with what your comment was. Typically, the way that contracts work with fundraisers is it is a percentage-based contract. So if he brings in $1,000, he gets 20% of that. If it's a new one, he gets 20%. If it's a renewal of an existing one, that percentage goes down. That's typically how those kinds of things work. And so we certainly would want to look at making sure that we were to structure contracts appropriately if we did enter into this type of arrangement. But I think the crux of what we want to say is that we'd like the opportunity to explore that at this point. We want to be able to make those decisions as a group about who we contract with, and certainly we understand your concerns, and we'd love to be part of that discussion going forward if there is additional discussion on this issue.
Can I just ask a question based upon what you said?
Mhm.
Those 501c3s you're talking about, are any of those city committees or commissions?
The Grand Rapids Film Festival, is that?
They are not appointed by the
They're
city
not
of Grand
appointed by the
Rapids?
city?
No.
So I don't know the answer to your question off the top
Okay.
of my head. So
Because I've
wouldn't
tried to
wanna
find
speak out
some of
there.
those comparables, and I've not been able to.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
I'd like to thank you guys for coming tonight.
Mrs. Voorhees?
Joanne?
I would like to follow up on your suggestion, Sam, in that we would have a discussion at a committee of the whole, not to prolong this for, you want some answers, but you did a admirable presentation tonight. Your committee has gone far beyond, like you say, 5 years ago, every year you improve the concerts. You're bringing a great attention to the city of Wyoming, a good reputation, or just good PR for the city of Wyoming. So we appreciate everything you do, and we do know it takes a lot of hours. And it's wonderful when you have somebody on your committee that enjoys fundraising.
Yeah.
That's not an easy job either. So I do think you have given us a lot to think about, a lot of good comments from the mayor. But I do think we need a committee of the whole to come and really, now that we've heard the whole presentation, and we can research more and talk here and get some more, if we have more questions. And I think it would be valuable to put this at a committee of the whole. Thank you.
I do too.
Well, and we thank you for your time as well, and we do respect whatever decision is made, but we just want to be clear that our motivations here are what we've done. We kind of feel like we've hit a little bit of a ceiling, so this is kind of why we're coming to you and asking for this request. And we'd love to keep building this up and making Wyoming an even better place, and this is how we feel we have to do it. And we feel that the unanimous vote on our commission shows that. And we really haven't heard anything that's saying that this is off limits or anything like that. So that's why we feel that it's the best decision that, if we could, pass this to move forward with it. So, again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you,
And I think you guys have done a tremendous job.
Thank you, Vicki.
And I think because of the growth that you've accomplished over the last 5 years, that is what's raising some of the questions, and it's a new bridge we have to cross.
Right.
And we'll go across that bridge one way or another. So we'll take it to the committee of the whole and go from there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.